we do see a lot of negative, but we don't hear about the positive as much.
Welcome to the What's Your Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. This almost feels a little foreign to me, revolutionaries, because it's been a minute. And as I've said to you in times past, that sometimes you will have to pause your revolution. And that is what I have been doing, taking a pause, taking an opportunity to figure out the space that I needed to be in to come back to you, to come back to this opportunity to be with you, to learn with you, to love with you, to be with you as you are on these journeys of revolution. And it's been really, really interesting over these last couple of months, really learning more about myself and what was going to be my revolution this year, right? I know probably by the time that you hear this, you're going to be like, wait, it might be August, it might be September, and you're talking about your revolution. But yeah, my revolution, as I said at the end of last year, has been to not be a people pleaser. And I have been working on that. I have been working through the emotional baggage of letting go of being a people pleaser and feeling what it feels like when those emotions and physiology well up, like, oh, wait a minute, let's recognize that behavior and move in the next direction. Like this would have been people pleasing, or you've people pleased, and what do we do now? And so it's been an interesting journey to really be able to set boundaries for myself and actually adhere to that, and then set boundaries for others. And that is the interesting thing, because I haven't been one, to set boundaries.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. And you hear that wonderful voice who's going to come on the show with me today, revolutionaries, but being able to set boundaries. And men don't talk about that, right? We hear women setting boundaries all the time. I got to set boundaries with my girls. I got to set boundaries with my men or my man, all this, or the people that are in your life. But men don't often talk about that, revolutionaries. We don't often talk about what it means to set boundaries for the people in our lives, to be the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that, and to be okay with that. And that's the journey that I've been on this year. Is really, I told myself my revolution was going to be not to be a people pleaser. And, at the recording of this, I'm working through it. And it's really, really been a wonderful but arduous journey, recognizing the behaviors and then trying to mitigate them, because it's like turning a freight train that's been going in one direction all your life and spinning it around and pushing the other direction. It's a heavy lift. So I am wishing you well in answering that question. And you always know that we are here with you. I also want to say, like, if you need support, go to whatsyourrevolution.com. We've got resources, the opportunity to speak with me and my team for coaching opportunities, one-on-one time with me to help you figure out how to answer the question, what's your revolution? And then what do you do when you have your answer? And we can help you do that. But let's get into the show. It's been a long time, and I am lucky. Sometimes I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world, because the universe sends me people that, says, look, yo, this person is dope, and you need to make sure that their story is being told. And probably 4 or 5 months ago, I went to see a panel of young brothers. And, ironically, at the recording of the show, my birthday was last week. And
oh, man.
I know, right? I know, right? And so it's interesting talking about somebody who's young. I got to see this young man and to hear him speak eloquently about his journey. And I was like, yo, brother, I don't know who you are, but the universe has put us in space where we need to be together. And so I was introduced to Mattheau Hall, aka Dupe. And I want to introduce him to you, revolutionaries. And I'm gonna let him say his litany of accolades and who he is. But let me tell you, one of the dopest young brothers that you're going to hear from in all of our shows, because his journey to where he is right now in life is just amazing, and I look forward to that. But Matthew Hall, Dupe, what's up, brother?
How
How
you
are
doing,
you?
boss? Man, I'm ecstatic. I really appreciate you giving me the time to be in this space with the rest of the revolutionaries that are listening. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. I got to give a shout out to my bald and bearded brothers as we were as we were joking in the green room. Let me tell you, once you get to see this one on YouTube, folks, you're gonna see this brother's got a dark, dark beard. And I told him that I'd never got to see that. I colored my beard once in the fall, and I said I would never ever do that. Thank you, Stanley Williams, for all of the jokes. That's my line, brother. But this brother, dark, dark beard, so he still got that youthful exuberance. So, but I'm gonna start the conversation like, when I think of Dupe, like I'm thinking like, yo, why is this brother's name Dupe? Like Dupe
Yeah.
is deceptive. Like, I'm gonna be Dupe. Are you gonna dupe me on the show? But ironically, there's a wonderful story around why people call you Dupe. Can you tell our revolutionaries where that the etiology of that comes from?
Yes. It all started back when I was a child. That was my family nickname. I had family back in Jamaica. We all had nicknames,
Mm.
and mine was Dupe. As a kid, as a family, that's what they always called me. I played soccer here when I first came to America when I was younger. And I was on a team with like 6 or 7 Matthews. And my father's on the sideline literally talking to me and trying to tell me some instruction. And he says Matthew, and legit, all 7 of us look over because they're trying to figure out who he's talking to. And then he says Dupe, and then everyone looks away except for me because then I know it's my father talking to me.
Yeah,
And it's funny because when people hear Dupe, they think of, oh, he's trying to trick me or he's trying to deceive, but
yeah.
it's really just the fact that I am myself.
Mm.
And there's no pretending here. It's all genuine, and it's to put a better light to a word that sometimes people take the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you said it, there's something, scaling in my mind. But I worked for a wonderful organization called Camelback Ventures,
Mm,
and we had something called the Ruthless Manifesto. And interestingly, that you say that being able to use words that typically have been, associated with nefariousness or something evil or something bad, to be duped.
right.
And but to be able to use it in the context of something that's positive. And drop down on that, because dupe for you actually recognized your skill set. Talk about that.
Well, being a soccer player, and playing not just soccer but football, basketball, there's different sports. It's being elusive.
Yeah,
You're not trying to get touched, or you're playing the game to not get caught. And if you're getting caught, you're doing the wrong thing.
yeah, yeah.
So essentially, that's where my mindset has always been when I'm on the field is I play the game to not be touched. I teach the game
Mm.
so that you don't get touched. The longer you play your sport, it's like I've played professionally. The goal is to survive the longest. And the way that you survive the
Yes.
longest is by not getting hit, avoiding contact.
Hmm.
So if I make you miss more times than not, I'm gonna survive longer than you are.
Wow. Wow.
And it's just
This
like in life. I mean, you know, you know the right and wrong choices each time. If you choose the wrong choice, you're not duping yourself.
You're exactly right. You're exactly, man, you are hitting home on some of our early themes, man. Like, you have these choice points in life.
Right.
And if you're trying to be revolutionary, and in a sense in this is, you know, duping is the ability to carve a life through choices, or to, in the moment, to make choices where you don't get touched, so you can actually
Succeed.
get to the finish line. It is really, really interesting. I always say that, we're one decision away from a different life. And I always try to say that we're one decision away from, I want to say, a better life, right? To
Hmm.
make it different. And I think that if we figure out those ways of not being touched nefariously or evil, that we make good conscious decisions,
Right.
that we can actually dupe those things that are coming for us that have bad or ill intentions to it. Am I hearing that story correctly?
Yes. No. Legitimate. Because in life, when we go through these little mini obstacles, we then learn like, okay, as a youth, you're gonna make bad decisions.
Yeah. As an adult.
You're gonna make bad decisions, but at some point, your conscience is gonna start to kick in. Like, all right, right decision, wrong decision. What point
Yeah.
do I decide to make the right decision?
Yeah.
And once you start to
Yeah.
make the right decision, it's like easy momentum. You no longer look back at making the wrong one. And so,
Yes.
and so people have this thought of, well, dupe is a bad term because you're trying to trick. Well, for me, no, it's a change.
Yeah.
It's a pivot into making the right decision. It's the pivot of
Mm.
not putting myself in harm, not putting myself in danger, not putting those around me in a situation where they have to think of something negative and turn it into something positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Brother, you need to market that. Like there need to be shirts. Both of us are representing different brands right now. We Virginia's for Lovers has been a long time branded item in Virginia. And I got on the What's Your Revolution apparel. But like you said, dupe, and then a small definition on the back. We give you some branding opportunities right
Right.
there.
Legit.
I'm telling you, you could go through it. What I love is I just think about that. Like once you begin to make good choices, time and time and time again, life should look different.
Right.
Life should do different. Kobe said, and God rest his soul, and he wasn't the perfect man. He was not. But one of the things that you look at him is that I think that life taught him how to make better choices. He had some bad experiences, but I
Right.
think that he began to make better choices. And one of the things that he said in one of the interviews that I revere is that you've got to edit your life. And so, you've got to edit your life. And so, what does it look like to edit your life? What does it look like to take a material look at the decisions that you make? Have you been duping those things duping those decisions that would lead you down a path? Have you been making good choices? How do you edit your life? If you had any advice to give to our revolutionaries before we jump into your story, what would you say to our revolutionaries about how to edit your life?
To be quite honest with you, I'm a firm believer in positivity.
Hmm.
It's hard for me to harness or to have a negative thought.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times is once you really start to focus on positive just thought and you speak positively, your life was going to change.
Yeah.
If you continue to have a negative thought or negative connotation or you use certain words, your word choice is a part of your energy. So if you're using words like can't, don't, I won't, it's not happening or it's not going my way, then it's not going to.
Yeah.
But the
Mm.
more you reinforce to yourself your goals, your strategy, the way that you want to go and execute, and you surround yourself with people who are doing so or who are striving, that's when things start to come your way full circle.
Yeah.
So you
Mm.
have to change. You have to change your surroundings. You have to change your goals. You have to change your family. You have to change, the things around you, and you have to change within yourself.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
keep doing the same things that you did yesterday in order to make it today better.
You brother, you are right. And part of that editing, the critique of your life is, in Revolutionaries, you've heard me say this, like doing the critical analysis of, am I in the same place I was last year this time? And birthdays are a wonderful place for you to do a critical analysis of, am I still the same person I was last year? Am I still in the same place financially? Am I still in the same place physically or emotionally, spiritually? It is a really interesting, you know, stoppage of time when you do this analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find out, Dupe, that maybe I am in this place, what do you then edit? As we say here, what do you revolt from And then what do you evolve into? Like you said, and oftentimes it begins with I am the person that I think I am, or I can become the person that I want to be. Like you said, that positive thought, because the brain skews negative anyway. The brain skews towards negative. It is a defense mechanism for us to think, oh, I can't. That leads me out of harm's way. I can be comfortable. I don't need to jump in that cold water. I don't need to jump in that cold shower. Ooh, no. Sometimes the difficulty is just thinking the positive thought.
Yes, it all starts with thought, but then it's also for me, how are you afraid to break your comfort zone?
Yeah.
I think, once you can self-reflect and look at the things around you and realize, okay, what needs to change? And a lot of times as men, or even as women, when you have the thought of, okay, which direction I want my life to go in,
Mm.
it's usually from a rock bottom. We figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But more times than not, we go through this roller coaster of up and then down, up and then down. But we know what those highs feel like, and it's because we're having positive, clear thought.
Yeah.
And so to
Yeah.
avoid that rock bottom feeling, keep that same momentum going, because you're learning lessons in between.
You are.
And a lot of times those lessons are showing you, okay, you hit this low point because you made a decision that you knew was going to make an adjustment in your life. And
Preach.
and did you learn from that adjustment? Or did you just decide to say, okay, I'm good with what I had the last time, so I'm just going to stay there? Or are you trying to surpass that?
Yeah.
Because in life, you know, what you do at 15, 16, 17, it's not always cool when you hit the 21.
No. Or
And from
53.
from 21 to 26,
Yeah.
that's another gap. And from 26 to 30, that's a whole nother life adjustment. But you have to take your time and enjoy the steps and the process in that, because what you're going through, the person next to you might not be going through.
Yeah. Yeah. You speaking to the developmental psychologist right now. Everybody's steps are different.
Right. And
You
so you
know?
just got to stay on your path and continue to ride your journey with a positive mindset and with clear thought.
I
If you
love that.
and if you don't have clear thought in what you're doing, it is going to be clouded. It can be tainted, because you're going to succumb to, whether it be social media, your peer group, your family, or whatever social climate that you're in. That's what you're going to succumb to if you can't stand with the clear thought of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep the clarity. So my revolutionaries are like, okay, we got this brother out here espousing, pontificating about positive thought, but like, who is this dude? Like who is he? Like, so who is Dupe? Who is Matthew Hall?
Oh man, well, I'm 36 years old, former professional soccer player, retired soccer player, community leader, social, mental health, physical health. I deal with kids on a day-to-day basis. I'm a part of the tourism group. I like to say that I'm the connector. I like to put people in rooms to have conversation for change.
Yeah.
But along with that, I am the person who sits back and analyzes a room and analyzes situations and bringing people together and understanding how to navigate in that space consistently.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, I think coming from a soccer background and a Caribbean immigrant family, you learn to adjust and pivot on the spot a lot. You know,
Like literally and figuratively.
yeah,
That
legit
that was amazing. Yeah.
on the spot. You
Mm,
go from speaking English to speaking, patois very quickly.
mm,
You go from smiling and enunciating your words to be heard to then just understanding that, okay, this is not my place to speak. I'm back home.
mm. Right.
Understanding rules, regulations, discipline. Those are the things that you're taught young. Sacrifice and survival. I mean, I'm a big believer in, as a young black man, I'm in America. I've only known survival for a very long time.
Mm,
We're not taught in certain aspects, how to come out of survival mode. And so we navigate in this space of having to protect ourselves more or protecting those around us when we don't know what that really looks like. We
yeah.
all do it in the same light. And so now I've come into a space where I like to go in and help kids at a younger age in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools and just talk to them, have conversations because they're the future.
They are.
And we're bypassing them with devices and social media that we can't control, but they know how to control that. You know, and that's just my way of giving back what I realize the world needs and my community needs.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a very big thing where we do see a lot of negative, but we don't hear about the positive as much. And it's easier to do that from a screen than it is to do it in person.
Yeah. It's easier to zone out. And we love the revolution of technology and what it's done, but the research talks about how our kids are not as connected to each other. And we know that social connection is one of the lifebloods, like
Mm-hmm.
to longevity, the ability to connect socially with folks in groups for long periods of time, and particularly for men of color. When we have that, we live longer. Our life expectancy is 77 years old.
You know, it's funny. Um, you had mentioned the word boundaries earlier,
Yeah.
and just as men, and in reality, boundaries aren't really they're our fathers didn't know what boundaries were. Our grandfathers didn't know what boundaries were,
Mm.
but they live longer than we do today. So with that being said, their boundaries were taking care of their family was work,
Yes. Hmm.
discipline. And when you look at today's path, it's not of work nor is it of discipline. And it's out of fear. Our parents weren't afraid to let us go outside and enjoy being outside.
Right. Yeah.
But parents of today are afraid to let their kid go outside because of the outside world. Because
And I
if
think
you were as a child or as growing up, once you got outside, you were open to the world.
open to the world.
You were only thing you knew was when the street lights came on, I had to be home.
Man, let me tell you, my pops would come out and whistle.
That
I
was it.
swear that whistle, you could hear that whistle, throughout the entire neighborhood. He'd be like, Chuck, and he would whistle. And I was like, all right, peace. Look, peace, homie. Gotta
Right. You
run.
knew what time it was.
Gotta go. But the world was open to us.
Right. And so we've now taken that away from our kids
Mm,
out of fear. We're
yeah.
so worried about them. If they go outside of our sight, if we're not able to see them for a second, it's like it's frowned upon. And so that scare tactic we put into our kids. So that's why we hand them devices so much to deal with that. Because now their access is the world through the internet. Our access was the world itself, our neighborhood, our
Oh,
friends, our
man.
experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two different worlds that we're navigating because one is out of fear and one is out of discipline.
Yeah. Or the latter one the former one was the yo, you need to be out of this house. Yo,
Right. Get out.
get out. I don't want to see you. Look, I
Yeah.
don't see you till the streetlights come home.
But
Word.
that was necessary, and our kids today don't know what that is. We have to teach.
Yeah.
Imagine having to continue to teach kids how to play.
And here's the irony to this, Dupe. What I love the most as an adult is to play.
Right.
I want to find ways to play more so than any other time in my life because no day is given. Like the mortality of me is at hand.
Yeah.
And I want to just play and laugh. And at one point in my life, Dupe, it was all about being Dr. Corprew. It was all about that. All of the things that came with being Dr. Corprew.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of the things that I really, really want to do come with just being Chuck or Charles and just going out and playing.
Yeah.
Like a child, like playing children's games.
But that's when you're young, you're striving to succeed in the world. But once
Yeah.
you hit a certain age, you're striving to be a child again.
You're striving to be a child again. with autonomy.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we have a time frame. Like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I'm ready to go. I'm good. I've been out for 2 hours. I've been out for 3 hours.
yeah, I'm good.
I'm
Like,
tapped
yeah,
out.
it's Saturday. It's Saturday, 10 o'clock. Oh,
Yeah.
might be bedtime.
Right. But it's, it comes with moderation. And I look at the times that we live in where more times than not, because as a community, we lost sight of, the village. We
Yeah,
lost sight of, being able to respect your elders or pass things down from one generation to the next. It's almost as if everyone is saying, go out and go get it yourself.
yeah,
But if you
yeah,
listen to those around you, maybe your grandfather, maybe your father, maybe your mother, or, your grandmother or your aunts or your uncles, everyone is passing down gems to you. Everyone is passing down the tools for you to succeed. Even those around you are passing you jewels or putting you in a position to succeed.
yeah.
What are we doing, or what are you as a person doing in those moments to take that in and not fight it? Because we
Yeah.
live in a time where we're so combative with ignorance, or we're just fighting it just because we want to prove a point.
And what would it look like? What would it look like if we could quiet the noise? What would it look like? You said something earlier that I think that we need to illuminate is that, we live in this chaotic place. And having to put that armor on, and you've heard this so many times, revolutionary, having to put that armor, what does it look like? Like if the theme of this show is like figuring out how to move back to our childlike phase, or even to vacillate into that from time to time, where I can move into this childlike phase because it gives me a sense of revelry and joy and ease, and it's my place of thriving, not surviving.
Hmm.
And the last thing I'll say with it, the comma in this, Dupe, is that I hear so many women talk about, I want a soft life, right? That this thing, I want a soft life. And I'm always saying, like, do you think that we as men want a hard life? Like, do you think that that's something that we ascribe to? We want a soft life too sometimes, right? Like, and I want to be okay with saying that you know what? I want a soft life, right?
You
I
know, you touched on something as you say that, and it's only because women of today and even men of today, it's a battle, and it's more so out of ego. And we look at the dating scene as of today, or the camaraderie as of today, based upon a status. And when you look back in time as you grew up as a child, your greatest moments were not knowing the status of people.
say that. Say that. Yes.
When you grew up, your friends as a kid, y'all were in the mud together. Y'all were, playing,
Man,
football, toss up football. You were all riding bikes together. It didn't matter if you had $5 or if the person next to you had $20. Everybody was getting snack chips and the juice for 25 cents.
man, who you telling? 225. I could go to
Right? You
look.
go to the corner store as a group.
Double cheeseburger, Big Mac fries and a shake, and not a smooth. I keep wanting to call it a chocolate fudge sundae
Right.
for
And so
$2.25.
today, everything is based upon this so-called status. A woman is telling you
Yeah.
what she wants from her status because it's a thought. It's not the reality. A man is saying what he wants based upon, well, this is what I'm bringing to the table. When really and truly, we're all bringing something to the table, but it's what's in the kitchen that's before it gets to the table.
He was cooking.
Right. Have you dealt with your past? Have you dealt with
Yeah.
your present? Have you
Yeah.
dealt with your infrastructure? Have you dealt with your family? Have you dealt with your exes? Have you dealt with all the things around you that still cause you either trauma or cause you fear or cause you pain or cause you joy? That's what you're really bringing to the table.
That is it. That
Be-
that that
When you look at most successful relationships, it's two people who come to a common ground as one. It's not about the status because
it's
there's
not
going to be
about the
errors.
status.
There's going to be errors. but it's how you bring those worlds together with taking status out to make it make sense. And more times than not, everyone is speaking from
Mhm.
a place of material and not, common ground.
Yeah, brother, you are preaching because there's so much in it's so much in that, and particularly as you get older and you think about what am I bringing? What am I dragging along into this thing? And then what are the expectations that I have? And I love that you say that when we were kids, we did not think about that. Do I like you? Do you like me? Do we? I mean,
That's it.
that's it. That's it. And now, as you get so much, like how much money do you? Are you pretty enough? Can you? How good is your sex? I mean, all these different things to get to this. It becomes this calculus, like literally calculus,
Yeah,
to get into a relationship these days.
because you're adding up the variables that don't matter. When you really break it down, and I say this more times than not when I have conversations with people, I'm like, you know, most times when you meet a woman, it's makeup, hair, eyelashes, nails, everything. You don't know
Heels,
what's yeah,
pencil
here,
skirts,
whatever. Like
you
everything
know.
has a place. As a
Hmm.
man, you can't really hide too much these days.
No, no, no,
And
you can't.
so in that space, it's like, okay, I can't hide anything. This is who I am. I just have money to bring to the table. That's it. You're gonna
That's
take it
it.
or not.
Or some lifts.
Yeah, that's it. That's really it. And so you're navigating a space of just showing finance or some form of stability, but a lot of times it's just you're just showing the money. That's it. A woman is only showing you, well, this is what I do, this is what I have, and this is what I want out of a man. That's all you're hearing.
Yeah.
So the
And
layers that you peel back once you kind of date that person, once you kind of find out, that's when you're like, oh man, I don't know where it's going to go next. I don't know if I'm going to maintain this. I don't know if this is going to stay pure, because the person that I met on the date and the person that's on my couch after I take all of this off isn't the same person.
it may not be the same person, right? And both people may not be
Right.
the same.
Man
Both,
and woman.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because that blue double breast suit looks real good on me until I take it off.
Right.
you know,
And it's navigating, how well do you communicate with your person? How
yeah,
are you listening to understand, or are you listening to respond? Are you taking time to really dive into yourself to grow any relationship around you? And it doesn't have to be with the person you're trying to date. It could just be even a friendship. It could be with a business partner. It could just be in a social space. And that a lot of times is why people miss out on opportunities to really navigate within this world.
yeah. It is the revolution right now is in dating.
Yeah,
It literally the revolution right now is in dating and being able to strip yourself and being able to strip yourself down to your childhood self to date. And I wonder because I know nobody's talked about this on this show. That's why I think this is actually transformative and revolutionary. Is that can we get back in a dating sense and to our childhood self that didn't think about anything else but do I like you? Do you like me? And can we look? Can we just can we have fun? Because that ultimately is what enables relationships. I think about the longest relationships that I've had with my best friends or my closest friends is because we can laugh together. We've been my boy Quince that I met the first day of first grade since when we were 6, so 47 years ago, right? Older, look, I met him 10, 11 years, look, 11 years before you were even born,
right.
right? We get on the phone now, and it at first it do. I mean, it literally the really really nerd part of me was like, why is it that we are 50 something years old, but we still to this day will joke each other like we did when we were in junior high school or high, like that is the highlight of our day,
Right.
right? right? You revolutionaries heard me say when he picks up the phone, I'm like, "What's up, Black Moon?" And he be like, "Shucky ducky, quack quack, what's happening?" That is how we open up our conversations.
Right.
Can you imagine this?
Yeah.
You know, imagine this. I mean, a robust businessman, right? And Dr. Charles Corprew, who does all of these things in the world, spends time joking each other, and that's the highlight of their relationship, being children.
But that's men on common ground.
Yeah.
That's men on common ground. And a lot of times when you're in a space of, you know, you're taking the status away from it, but you're just two men enjoying
Yeah.
growth. You're
Yeah.
you're sharpening each other to build.
Yeah.
He can challenge you and you won't feel offense. You can challenge him, he won't feel offense.
Man, who you telling?
So in those
Yeah.
moments from childhood to where you guys are now, everything has been based upon he builds me up, I build him up,
Yes.
and that's established. It's not, oh man, why you saying this, or that's,
Mm-hmm.
there's no defense.
Yeah.
You're taking it in and you're understanding, but you're also knowing that it's from here. It's not an attack.
It's not an attack. It is not an attack. And we have different values in some places. And what we've learned over the years is that our differing values actually make us closer. We've had some dude, when I tell you, we've had some drop down arguments about our different values.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, like you just said, I love revolutionaries. I need you to internalize what Dupe just said, that it's not an attack. And once we realized that it was not an attack on each other, that we were passionate about our values, we then were able to pull back and say, what can I learn from this? And it has made our relationship stronger.
Right.
And that is a wonderful thing. Revolutionaries, I know, look, we can go down this road forever, but I think that, what I think our revolutionaries want to understand is that there's another story inside of you.
Yeah.
I think there's an impetus that drives what you do. Talk about that. Talk about that story, that impetus, that event that drives you now.
I mean, what drives me now, it's been loss
Yeah.
and managing, you know, major sacrifice.
Yeah.
Major sacrifice, when COVID hit, we went through a structure of having to adjust in the world. I had to see my kids learn school in a different way.
Mm,
Me as a father having to navigate in that space and just figuring out, okay, what's going to work? How am I going to fix this dynamic in within myself, but also within them? Friendship wise, what can I do to continue to grow my friendships, to continue to grow within the space, and then realizing what it is that I really want to do with myself.
yeah.
Obviously after COVID, I lost my cousin.
Mm,
And in building my business, and when she passed away, that was a big change for me because I was on the verge of I was giving her the information and I was of the things that I was doing, and she was gonna be the first person to speak of my story.
yeah.
And in her passing, that made me drive community and just self awareness more. That was a bigger impact for me. And then after losing my cousin, I lost another friend, and then I literally saved 7 people from a car accident that were getting ready to die.
Mm, right.
And then I had another man die in my arms trying to save him at my job. So all of that happening within a year's time frame changed my outlook on life. And when those moments happened, it made me realize even more to myself that, time is short.
Time is short.
And so when I realized that my cousin, who is only in her 20s, passed away, and seeing the impact it had on my family, but also realizing that I could have passed away at 17 from testicular cancer. Like that could have
Mm,
taken my life,
yeah.
and I happened to, survive that and continue to be here. And those moments made me realize, okay, sacrifice in life and staying focused is what's going to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
and being able to communicate with people consistently and when called upon to show up and execute.
Mm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people always ask for opportunities or want to say, well, why not me? Why not me? But when the opportunity does come, the execution isn't there. Or that choice of choosing something that you think might be better and that's not what God has in plan for you.
Man. Yes, say that. That is something that needs to be said again. You choose something, and that's not the choice that God had for you.
Yeah. And timing is everything. And going through those journeys, I'm having to meet, new friends and new people who have come in to impact my life and make me rise a lot faster than what I'm capable of doing. And so by that happening, that got me more involved in the community. That made me
Yeah.
want to impact, the Hampton Roads area more. That made me want to do more with council and have a bigger voice and literally leave an impact and a legacy that I know for the 120 kids that I might see a day or the 60 kids that I might see in a day, that my name and what I do for them is going to last longer than if I pass today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Leaving a legacy, knowing that your revolution is not just for you,
Right.
that
And
your revolution is for those that are coming behind you.
exactly. To me, that's the greatest legacy.
Mm.
That to me is more valuable than gold.
Yeah. Yeah. That is what this life is about.
Right.
Um, leaving behind, and it's leaving behind something hmm, for those to I the phrase that comes to my mind, leaving behind something for people to step on. And I
Right.
say this, to step on, meaning that you have built a foundation, that you have built a step, or that you've built a stoop, or that you have built something that would propel or uplift or like
Exactly.
move. Yeah.
That's
And
exactly it.
yeah.
I'm a firm believer in be the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. But I go back to the more positive and consistent you are in that, it becomes easy.
Yeah.
It becomes more consistent because your aura and your energy within that is always going to be consistent, and through seeing death firsthand in so many different ways made me realize every time my 10 toes touch the ground, I got to be a better version of myself.
You gotta be a
So if yesterday, I said a prayer before I went to sleep and a prayer in the middle of the day and a prayer at night, better believe the next day I'm doing the exact same thing, but I'm going a little bit harder
right.
because that is the only time you have.
No day is given, brother.
Right. And so I just soak it all in. I keep that positive attitude, and that was the difference for me. That
Yeah.
was that light bulb that hit that I knew my impact is going to be around this.
Yeah, loss will put perspective into your life quickly.
Yeah,
And
very much so.
I think about my father. My father was fortunate. My father lived 93 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was a revolutionary in everything that he did. And I think about that statement of leaving a step.
Right.
And every day, I stood on the step that he created.
Hmm.
I literally stood on the step that he created, and I continue to step. I continue to step on those steps that he created. I continue to hold the name that he carved out for us.
Right.
I continue to uplift those who come behind me, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
That's what my mother does.
It means
And
something.
it means something. And understand, when folks say Matthew Hall down the road, or folks say Charles Corprew Jr. or Charles Corprew III, there should be some meaning. Revolutionaries, there should be some meaning behind when folks say your name.
That right there is the value.
Yeah.
Your name is always in the rooms that you can't walk into yet.
Oh my God.
So This is I always say this to people. When you're doing the right thing, your name transcends rooms. People light up. They're ready to talk about it when you're doing the right thing. When you're not doing the right thing, your name is not in that room. They're not even a thought. The opportunity isn't there.
Right.
But when you're on the right path and you're generating something that's worth value and you are of value in the process and in the thing that you're doing, that energy continues to flow. Whether you
Yeah.
believe it or not, it continues to show up time and time again.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing the right thing can be hard. But if you're
Oh yeah,
consistently doing the right thing, like you said, your name will be in rooms that you're not. People should be saying your name in rooms that you're not there.
right.
Mattheau Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Revolutionaries, as I said, it's been a long time since, for me since I've been behind this mic. But this conversation reminds me of why I do the show. I do this for you first, but I also do this for me. I started this show 7.5 years ago because I wanted to listen to powerful voices tell me stories of revolution, tell me stories of change, tell me stories of how they were moving the needle in the world. This Revolutionaries is an ordinary show because all of those things have happened in this show. When you listen to Dupe, to Mattheau Hall, talk about what he's doing in the world, you will be inspired, you will be motivated. And yes, Revolutionaries, I hear you. I haven't asked him the question. So Mattheau Hall, Dupe, what's your revolution?
My revolution is to create change in mental health as well as in physical health. To continue to push the youth to see that there's a brighter future in communication and having self confidence. That's the two things that young black and there's anyone of color and diversity. That's what we lack.
Yeah.
We lack communication. We lack confidence, proper self confidence, not in material but in self. And then by having that, and at least having a representation of it, we now know the steps to go forward from young, because mental health is something that has just arrived. We're still in the incubation stage of figuring out
Mhm.
what it really is. But we're looking at it from adults. No one is looking at it from a youth standpoint. And that's where it's more of them than it is of us.
Yeah.
And if we can tap into them and get them to understand, take a minute to self reflect. You realize what you did was wrong. Let's talk about it. Let's
Mm.
fix it. And now continue to walk into that positive light and
Yes.
self correct. Or have the conversation in with yourself and then with the next person. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? My bad. I didn't mean to scream at you, or I didn't mean to, be abrasive, because we're always in self defense mode. But to shed that defense, take what someone is saying to you, understand, and give a proper response back. And to also be physically capable to maneuver in the world. Not just physically as in the way we look, but also physically appear, physically, mentally sharp. Also here
Yeah.
with the power of the sword of the mouth.
Right. Right. Knowing when to just be quiet.
When to just listen.
Yeah.
How to
Yeah.
respond. Sharpen this muscle. Physically work out this muscle here to make this one be even sharper.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
so that's where I really tap into, and teaching the sport of soccer, growing that grassroots, because it's a sport where you don't have to speak the same language in order for it to connect.
Drop down on that because I realized that in my questioning today and wanting to understand this, because you are the first Black soccer player that we've had on the show,
Mm.
Professional athlete. Talk about your experience playing soccer, and what had, like, you're a professional athlete playing soccer, a game that typically here in the States, we don't particularly see a lot of Black men playing soccer, football,
Yeah,
you know. What is that like, and how does that experience of being a professional athlete in a sport that is not typically geared to us, how does that then transcend to the work that you're doing now?
Well, growing up as a kid, for example, I was the only black on an all-white team.
Mm,
So you learn to navigate. You learn how you say people please, so to speak.
mm,
You learn to, observe everything that is going on around you. You learn to adapt. You learn to pivot. You learn to grow, but you also got to stay true to who you are.
mm.
And your character goes a very long way in that. And growing up playing, I realized that I had talent. I was very good, but as I got older and got better, I started to see more kids that look like me.
Yeah.
But the difference between myself and them may have just been the confidence, because the words of somebody that's playing against me that is afraid of my skin color, or is afraid of because I'm from an island, or they see me as this, that didn't stop me. And so when you play a sport that in America, not even in America, but around the world, you don't feel like you're seen, but you are. We just don't have the representation of the Allen Iversons or the LeBron James or the Michael Jordans to really realize that, because they're
Mm.
not American. They're from France. They're from Brazil. They're from
Mbappe.
Portugal. Right. And
Right.
so you're connecting to people who aren't speaking the same language as you, but the same color as you.
Mm.
The difference is they don't fight your fight when it comes to race.
Yeah.
And
They
that's the
look at it
difference.
totally differently.
Right. And that's what I explained to people, because I've played in, Germany, Denmark, Spain, Mexico, and even here in the States and Canada. Europeans don't know what racism is. Most of the world does not know what racism is. It's only here in America that we know what racism is. They don't know what Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they don't know what that
Mm.
is. And so you're having to teach them these things in conversation. They only know what they see in hip hop music videos or what they see on TV. And they rapping them lyrics word for word. They don't
Word
know
for word.
they don't know what certain things mean. They just know that's what this song say. That's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna say. And until they have that conversation, then they have a better understanding. And so in traveling and playing the game, at 10 years old, I was traveling up and down the East Coast. By the time I was 15, 16 years old, I went to Spain. My
Wow.
first contract offer came at 16 years old.
That's wow.
So when you look at what the game can do, it can change your life, and that's what it did for me. It took me everywhere, 45 out of 50 states and 9 countries by the time I'm 35 years old.
Wow.
That's what it did for
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
And so
It
you
showed you
really,
life. It showed you a different perspective. I often talk about how movement out of your home
yes,
opens your mind. Like coming back home after living in New Orleans and coming back home after traveling across the world, you see the world from a different vantage point.
but you
You
learn
have a
culture.
lived experience around culture that is completely different
Yes, and
than you.
that's the beauty of it. It helped me transcend culture.
Mm,
It
it
helped
helped.
me see the differences. It helped me connect those dots, because I can relate or know what a person from different countries or different languages, I know how to connect them. I know how to be that relatable person in the room, or that relatable person that they can go to and connect them with someone else, because I have
Yeah.
that experience.
Mm,
I've done that. I can connect a Serbian, and a person living here in America. I can connect that line. I've sat down with a Serbian and a Croatian who have a war against each other. I've sat
right.
in the room and had them make peace.
Bring it together.
I've sat down. I played in Mexico to have that full conversation, with a person who has no idea of what I'm going through, or what being Jamaican and American is at the same time.
Yeah.
So it teaches you culture. It teaches you how to break down barriers, but also learn more about the world around you,
Yeah.
because it's bigger than just your neighborhood and your street.
No, ironically the largest sport in the world, football,
Right.
soccer. Yeah, bringing people together. The one time, Dupe, I can tell you that I am the biggest soccer fan is during the World Cup.
Right.
All of a sudden, Charles Corprew becomes like rah rah. Look, I am all about the USA in the World Cup, and
Right.
Yep. Depending on when this airs, I will have or will be going to the Olympics to see France and the USA play in the opening games of the Olympics.
No, that'd
And
be amazing.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Matthew Hall, Dupe, man, I just want to say one, thank you for sharing your story with my revolutionaries. These are amazing people from around the world who are doing transformative, revolutionary things in their lives and their communities and their world. So each time that we have someone like you on the show to give us an insight on how to be a better version of ourselves, that's what we need. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Revolutionaries, it has been a while. And as I said, I want you to go to whatsyourrevolution.com. Check us out. See what's going on there. The opportunity to learn more about how to answer the question, what's your revolution? And then what do you do to fulfill that revolution? We have opportunities to work with me one-on-one, to do it in a group setting, or even bring me out to talk to large groups to really inspire you as you answer what we think is the most thought-provoking question of your life. What's revolution? You know that I love you, and I have not said that in a while, but you know that I love you, I love you, I love you, and that we are here for you. And we hope that you are doing all that you can to be the most revolutionary version of yourself. We will talk to you soon. I look forward to this season of wonderful shows and wonderful time together. Peace, everybody.